Leading off starts right now, friends. I am Chris Welsh. That is Andrew Seifter. And welcome in, and thank you for hanging out with us. Leading off brought to you by BetMGM. It's a brand new week. We are almost in September. We are in the final stretch, and Andrew and I are here to help you out. Andrew, how was your weekend, my friend?
So good, man. I just, I was telling you right before the show, I took my daughter to a little butterfly garden, got out in some fresh air because, with all the sports watching going on, sometimes it's hard to get out of your living room there. But, especially with football coming too, I know Sundays and Saturdays are going to start getting booked for me for a lot of TV watching. So got to take those nature opportunities when I can.
Speaking of BetMGM, I found myself even on another realm of wanting to bet this weekend because there was even preseason NFL and it got my baseball juices going a little bit more. I do think I cursed it though. I had one bet yesterday, I had two baseball bets, and they both surrounded around Shohei Ohtani and the Angels, and couldn't have done a better job about that. Cursing Ohtani having one of his worst starts of his career, 85 pitches through four, couldn't strike anybody out. Couldn't command anything, couldn't do anything. Angels had an opportunity. I also had a team total runs on the first five. They had all the bases. I think the bases were loaded with Rengifo. It was a disaster. But we're going to change it this week, whether it's football and or baseball betting. We've got the whole gambit of stuff to talk about. So let's get right into it. Cardinals sweep my Diamondbacks over the weekend to extend a 7-game winning streak. And I picked up a couple homers from Goldie. So again, I think I'm at like 30, maybe 30 homers. Go Cards probably knows. I don't exactly know where I'm at. We're going to look at the home run board because we do have a new leader here in just a little bit. It would be a miracle for me to get in there, but I think I am crossing the 30 home run mark, which I'm very happy about. The Cardinals sweep the Diamondbacks over the weekend, and now 7-game winning streak as they rock. In 12 games with the Dodgers, Andrew, Joey Gallo has slashed 267, 371, 667. For the Yankees, he had a 159, 282, 339 slash line. Joey Gallo was not done. Shout out to Wonky for it. How much in your belief does Joey Gallo exist? Like rest of season into next year? Was this really a change of scenery that was needed? Because we're seeing that. Remember that theoretical time where we look at Joey Gallo's numbers when he was with the Rangers and we're like, if he could just hit 230, he would be this. He is doing that in a platoonish type of role with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Joey Gallo is what Joey Gallo has always been. And people, it is funny. What you said is totally true with batting average. People always can kind of just dream because, there is more fluctuation with that stat from year to year. So there will be some years where he hits for a higher average. There'll also be years where his average, like this year, is like 170, And I think going to the Dodgers, sometimes you get excited, you get a short-term boost. But I don't really see that as something that's going to be change his outlook longer term, even for the rest of this season. Like you said, he's a platoon player. I mean, he's only playing against righties, so I'd almost rather have Albert Pujols, honestly.
Ooh, we're talking about him a little bit. It's funny. I remember back in the day, we would you take a look at like kind of stacking players in fantasy, and we would go, if you had, I'm trying to remember who the runner was. Maybe it was who was the Astros guy? It's not Tavares, Willie Tavares, if you remember. Like, and maybe I'm mixing it, but it was like if you took a Willie Tavares type of guy and then you took Joey Gallo, if you combine them together, you would have like a first overall fantasy player. But it's the dream on, and there's a lot of those guys. That actually would be a fun article of like, who are players we dream on? We dream on Joey Gallo doing this. We dream on Byron Buxton, being out there. We dream on Mike Trout continuously being healthy. But this is actually something good for Joey Gallo's career. I actually think if this would continue, Dodgers only put him in a place to succeed. Even if his at bats were lower, I would rather 400 at bats versus righties with Joey Gallo than 650 doing the whole thing and struggling and losing time. I wish teams would take some of these players because we're seeing like an uptick in these like 210, 215, 220 type of hitters more and more. Let's just put them in the best situations to succeed. Brandon Drury kind of bucked that a little bit, but why not? Why not, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, it's so format dependent, honestly, with a player like Joey Gallo, though. I feel like, it's if you're in a points league, like he's better, because he draws walks and the batting average doesn't kill you as much. If you're in a daily lineups league and you don't mind a little maintenance on your team, then yeah, you play him when he's playing. You sit him when he's sitting against the lefties, and you get the best out of him. So you can make it work. You can also draft, go into the season and draft some high batting average guys to like offset Gallo. So there are ways to make it work. He's a high maintenance player, in my opinion, for fantasy. So if you're the kind of manager that just wants to set it and forget it, or, if you have weekly lineups, you're getting like a top 100, top 150 at best overall player for the full season when you factor in the warts. But if you have some flexibility in your format, he can be valuable for you.
I'm going to do an article called Once Upon a Dream. And I'll just take these players where it's like, if they could just do this one thing, everything could be okay in the world. If they can only do one. Alec Bohm, 2 homers in the Mets loss. Bohm now a 319 average in the second half compared to a 276. And I just wanted to bring this up to you, Andrew, because I was just doing a little deep dive on Alec Bohm, and across the board, it's all better in the second half. ISO up. Hard hit was around 28% in the first half. It's up to 38% in the second half. I mean, you pick the number, strikeout percentage has gone down, or K percentage has gone down by 2. The entire thing has fixed itself to a degree, of course. And over the last 30 days, at least on Yahoo's algorithm, he is a top 35 overall player with 4 homers, 21 RBIs, 17 runs, and that 319 batting average, essentially equating to the second half is the last 30 days. And do you think the death of Alec Bohm in fantasy was premature, as he's really seemed to find a stride, even though none of it's elite? 4 homers, blah, 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 it's not going to work. But he does have 3 homers in each of the last 2 months as it's picking up. Alec Bohm, 60% owned in Yahoo. Alec Bohm trust rest of this season and into the future.
I mean, I don't think he's going to kill you. I think he's got a really good hit tool. I think he can hit for a pretty high average. To me, the question is really about the power, because he doesn't offer steals. So if he's not offering steals and he's not offering home runs, he's not going to be that interesting in a roto categories kind of league. You don't want him to be Luis Arias, right? So, it is nice to see the uptick in power. I don't know if when you looked at his splits, if you happen to look at his launch angle, because that's the thing I'm really wanting to see. His launch angle is 10.8% for the season right now. So that's up from last year, but it's still pretty mediocre. It's not the kind of launch angle that is going to get you 25, 30 home runs over a season. I don't think so. He does make hard contact, but he hits a lot of line drives, hits a lot of ground balls. So, I still am not really there in believing that the power is coming based on this short hot streak. So I need to see it more before I believe that. But, he's only 26 years old, so he's got a long career ahead of him. I could certainly see him making the adjustments to become more of a power hitter. I just don't know if that's happened yet.
I think there might be something in Dynasty for a buy. Rest of season, I think you're comfortable with what you have with him, and there's probably shorter leagues where he's available. First to second half, August has been a little bit of a drudge outside of this last weekend. It was really July that he boosted, but home run to fly ball ratio, 8% in the first half, jumped up to almost 14% this half. His ground ball rate has also dropped by around 3% this half. His slugging is up over 100 points. So this is really about what he's doing in the second half. Is there sustainability? Have we found growth in him? And if we take these numbers of what he's doing in this shorter stint of the second half, can this be something elongated over a season for next year? And I think it might be. What it would do for him, though, is this would probably be something where, I don't know, he's like a poor man's Alex Bregman, where it's like you're going to maybe get to 25 homers. You could have a high batting average. Bregman's going to get a more steals than Bohm is going to be. Just something to look out for as he kind of picks that up. On the prospect side, the Royals are calling up Drew Waters from AAA. He was acquired like last month in that Brave competitive balance pick trade that they did, where the Braves were just picking up the 35th overall pick, and they got and the Royals got Drew Waters. And let's see, blah, 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 295, 399, 541 slashes, 7 homers, and 13 stolen bases in 143 plate appearances over 31 games of the Royals so far. Drew Waters was a very highly touted prospect. There's a huge bat speed in his game. There's a lot of swing and miss. He's kind of stalled. There were big stolen base numbers. This is the theoretical 5-tool type of outfielder whose hit tool really regressed. And now he's going to come up with the Royals and get an opportunity. Do you have any interest in speculating on a guy like Drew Waters, who has some, power speed potential if he plays through the second half of this year. And really, also just him having the potential to play when he's found his groove with the Royals is a big move, because the Braves typically move up their outfielders. He was the outlier that did not get it. So any interest in Drew Waters?
I certainly would be interested in a speculative ad in a roto categories league just because of the stolen base potential that he brings. I feel like he's very much the opposite kind of player as Alex Boehm. He's a very toolsy player,
Totally.
but you look at the minor league numbers, and you mentioned he was hitting 295 in the Royals AAA system, but he had a 28.7% strikeout rate. So, if you have that highest strikeout rate in AAA, like you're probably going to be striking out well north of 30% in the big leagues, which means you're going to be a major batting average liability. So like, it wouldn't surprise me to see him kind of go the route of like Josh Lowe, where it just doesn't work out. But it's fine to take a chance. I have no problem with that. As long as the Royals actually do give him regular playing time. We always assume, oh, this is a team that's out of it. Like why wouldn't they play their young guys the last 5-6 weeks of the season? But we've seen the Royals frustrate us with some of this stuff before. I mean, they kept Carlos Santana around way longer than we wish they would, and we had to wait on Vinny Pasquantino. We had to wait on MJ Melendez to get regular playing time. Edward Olivares is a guy people have always gotten really excited about, and then he never plays, So, I mean, they still have Kyle Isbell there. They've got Michael Taylor. There's some guys who could be standing in his way for regular playing time. So I want to just kind of see how it pans out.
Something to be interesting to watch with him, like a lot of guys, there's kind of I've seen some chatter about this online over the weekend about how teams are starting to adjust to Michael Harris. And it is like, I really want to actually talk to the AFL coming in like a month and a half. I really want to talk to some prospects about this and what changed and when this became the thing. But like, one of the biggest issues in developmental changes, especially if you have really good hitters, is high fastballs. And like, I got a report on a really good prospect, one of the top prospects, and how the only hole in their game currently is high velocity and in the upper region of the zone. And that's something that kind of like a lot of these guys are always dealing with and always struggling through, where like Michael Harris has been hitting nothing but fastballs, guys grooving in high velo, a lot of relievers and stuff, and not throwing them off-speed pitches. And I'd be curious to see if that's what Drew Waters sees early on, because I actually think he could have some early success if he gets a bunch of fastballs. But then what's going to happen is when teams start, throwing in any breaking pitches and then complementing that with high zone fastballs, is he a higher upper zone fastball hitter? And I don't think he is. Big strikeout guy. He's kind of a chase guy. So just monitor him, just kind of throwing it out there and letting everybody know that Drew Waters is coming up. On the injury front, Braxton Garrett, 15-day IL. Tyler Mahle, 15 IL with shoulder inflammation. I actually thought we were going to not get him there. Sir Anthony Dominguez on the 15-day. George Springer was hit on Sunday, but otherwise he missed the weekend with right knee soreness. That's kind of just been a continuous thing with him, unfortunately. Eric Hosmer missed Sunday's game after leaving Saturday with lower back stiffness. Greinke was pulled from his start on Sunday with right forearm cramping. Look at all these injuries. Keegan Thompson on the 15. Yasmani Grandal on the 10-day with a hyperextended knee. And Kyle Hendricks out for the rest of the year with 2022. We are in that like out for the rest of the season thing here with this month to go. You're going to have teams just giving up, pushing out. I expect to probably see a big uptick in injuries, Andrew, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping with Tyler Mahle that it will be a short stay on the IL, and clearly they need him. They went out and got him, so and he had really turned his season around as well. So I'm still like hopeful that we get a month more of good Tyler Mahle in September to help us with that stretch run. And Braxton Garrett is a real disappointing one for me, because he just seemed on the verge of a huge breakout to me. And then he had this string of just awful matchups. I wrote about him in my waiver wire piece at FantasyPros I wrote it on Friday. It came up Saturday morning, but he was still a player I was recommending to pick up just because of the potential. But I was like, you're not going to want to start him probably against the Dodgers. And now we have this. So it's kind of a bummer. Maybe his full breakout gets pushed back to 2023, but I still really like him for the long term.
So I got it's a new segment. It's a brand new segment on the show. You know, we love to interact. We've got the Peanuts or Cracker Jacks. We have one of the best chats that is rocking through. Look at all these guys. If you guys aren't hanging out, get in here. You get the whole crew in here. Wonky is rocking with everybody. So, man of the people. And I like to see what the chatter is. So, we are going to do a new segment. It's called Twitter Chatter. What's going on in the world? I'm going to pick a totally random baseball tweet. Has nothing to do with anything. Completely random. I'm going to close my eyes. Okay, here it is. This is from John Anderson from Rotoballer. Totally random tweet. Oneil Cruz has been one of the worst hitters in the league this year. So that's nice for Pirates fans. He's hitting 196 with a 244 OBP at 386 slugging. He's got a huge strikeout problem, 38%, and his 61% contact rate is horrific. And he's hitting way too many ground balls, 53% when he does make contact. It's a totally random tweet, Andrew. Completely innocuous. Oneil Cruz, Rookie of the Year? Not so much. Hitting under 200? You got it. Is Oneil Cruz trustworthy on your roster rest of season in redraft?
I mean, I wouldn't say he's trustworthy, but I would point out he's got 9 homers and 6 steals in 50 games. So, like, that's a pretty good pace. That's a 30 home run, 15 plus steal pace, more 20 steal pace. So, yeah, I mean, that'll play, in a category roto league, at least. In a points league, it probably doesn't play at all. And I agree. I mean, with that swing and miss in his game, like, the batting average is not really a fluke. I mean, this guy clearly has some adjustments to make to be a long-term Major League Baseball player. But it's one of those things where in fantasy, you can kind of deal with it a little bit,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I obviously disagree a little bit when you say, like, it totally plays. Like, yeah, the homers and the stolen bases, they play to a degree, but you're going to sink your batting average and you might have a week of sunken stats. But again, Oneil Cruz, super crazy talent, just, one of the biggest strikeout rates, hitting under 200, and maybe one of the most overrated guys as far as public perception for this year. But yeah, again,
he's so young though. I mean, come on, he's
I'm all in on Dynasty. I have a big, if you don't get the bit here, I've been critical of him this year and how he was anointed. He literally came up, and the first day he came up, he had Rookie of the Year top odds. He was going to win the award. This year, I think he's completely overrated. Long term, he's a buy. His talent is stupid. The home run, when he gets it figured out, if he gets it figured out, it's going to be perfect.
It's the same thing you were talking about with Joey Gallo. Honestly, it's like people dream like, oh, what if he can only hit 250? Then all of a sudden, all this power and speed, he's going to be a stud.
He would be in my article, if I was writing that article, Joey Gallo would be in there. He would 100%. I mean, because he's that guy that even in bad batting averages, you can probably still project high runs, RBI, homer, and stolen bases. Maybe not RBI. RBI and run are going to be a little dicey, maybe in the median range, but you can project if you're going to get 28 homers and 12 stolen bases. That's awesome. It just doesn't feel great when it's attached to a 196 batting average.
True, but I'd rather dream on a 23-year-old, who's just getting his first taste of the major leagues than dreaming on Joey Gallo, who we know what he is one way or another.
What's the context of what you're saying in redraft or dynasty?
Well, I mean, I honestly don't think I'd want either of them in my starting lineup in a 10 or 12 team league in redraft right now.
Yeah, I don't think dynasty this is not a question. Like Oneil Cruz is like worlds and universes beyond the guy.
But even if you say redraft for next season, for example, like I think there's a better chance that Oneil Cruz takes a big step forward than that Joey Gallo gets lucky and hits 260.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree with that. Check out this tweet from CBS Sports. Home runs since August 10th. Mike Mayer actually sent this to me. Albert Pujols, 6. The team Phillies, the whole team, 5. The whole team of the Rangers, 5. And the Red Sox, 3. That's actually more amazing than Pujols having more homers than them is the Red Sox having 3 homers on that. I like that tweet as Pujols. We all want Pujols to get to 700. I really do. I want him to play all the games, double headers, just get him play whatever position he's got to play. Like, I just want to see it. And if he stops at 699, I think he's obligated to come.
He's got a better chance than he did the last time we talked about it. So if he keeps hitting 2 home runs whenever he plays, he could get there even with spot starts.
Yeah. Let's go to some stat heroes for the weekend. Mark Canha, 3 for 5. He had 2 homers. 5 RBIs, had that big ender at the, I think it was on Saturday. Alec Boehm, 3 for 5, 2 homers, 6 RBI. Jake Fraley, 2 for 2 with a homer, 3 RBI, and a stolen base, little combo meal. Evan Longoria, just coming back. Evan Longoria was one of my favorite players when he was a Ray, when he was coming up. I loved Longoria, man. 3 for 4, homer, 4 RBI. Keston Hira from the dead, zombie Keston Hira, 2 for 4, 2 homers, 3 RBI. Would love for that to kick back. Riley Green had a homer and an incredible catch, because I was dialed into that Angels game when I wasn't complaining about MLB's blackout rules. He had this diving catch in center field to absolutely take away a run in my team total first 5. Looking really, really good. That whole defense, they also robbed one at the wall as well. It was just, trying to kill me. Seiya Suzuki, 3 for 3 with a bomb. Andrew Benintendi had a homer. Matt Olson with a homer. And Shea Langoliers, 3 for 4 with a RBI and a run. Anybody tickle your fancy in this group? I think there's a lot of potential in there. Shea Langoliers kind of jumps out to me as he continues to hit with this team. And this is one of those working out young guys. Why, regardless of what's going on, find a way to pick them up, see if it works. And guys like Vaughn Grissom and Shea Langoliers, it is working, Andrew.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that he's a catcher too. I mean, like, this is a guy who was hitting 283 with 19 homers and 5 steals in 92 games in AAA. So, it's more than just this hot start right now. I mean, he is striking out an awful lot so far, but it's only 20 plate appearances. So we shouldn't overreact to that. I mean, the bar is so low with catcher. Like, I feel like he's the kind of guy that, like, instantly it's interesting. Like, it doesn't take much at all to become like a worthy player of picking up in a 10 or 12 team league at catcher.
What's interesting about that too is I think there's the potential. You can make arguments that there might be 3. I say there's more than that. Maybe 4. Probably not 4. Let's go with 4. 4 catchers that could be inside the top 12 for next year that have less than a year of experience in there. And we're talking Adley. You're talking MJ Melendez, who I think could be in that conversation. Shea Langoliers is probably a little bit dicey, but you know what? If he finishes out this whole way through, it's going to be hard to take that bat off. And maybe Francisco Alvarez going into next year, if he gets a little bit of cup of coffee. And you look at that, and Adley was being drafted. I was very critical of this, but it all works out in the end. Where Adley was being drafted as like the 5th catcher in a lot of leagues this year. Yet he didn't come up for the first half of the season. So that's kind of stupid unless you are comfortable with it being able to just kind of like roster him at the bottom. But then it's worked out. Adley's going to be drafted as the number 1 catcher next year. And there's actually little doubt in my mind that it's going to happen. Maybe Remuto gets in there. I don't know. I think Adley would be the number 1. But you now look as you could have 4 of the young catchers make up the top 12 of overall catchers drafted next year. Who do you think would be out of that list? It's obviously going to it's not going to be Adley, so it's going to be one of the others. Who do you think is on the fringe of that top 12?
Remind me who the other 3 you said were.
So you have Alvarez, who hasn't come up yet. You have Shea Langoliers, who's rocking in a bad lineup, who should hit in the middle in perpetuity. And then you have MJ Melendez.
I think it has to be Alvarez, just because we haven't seen it yet, and we don't know exactly when he's going to get the opportunity. I mean, I've been on Melendez all along. I just like what this guy did in the minor. I mean, he hit 40 home runs in the minors last season, and it was amazing because they had Sal Perez do it in the majors and Melendez do it in the minors. So it was really nice to see. That was one situation where you had to wait a little while, but then they really have stuck with Melendez through the ups and downs, which are to be expected. So I like him a lot. There's other young catchers too. I think Keibert Ruiz has had kind of a tough year, but I still think he could be a top 12 catcher next season. Alejandro Kirk, of course, has been a revelation this season.
No
so
doubt.
So it's a good time for young catchers, really.
Yeah, I think Kirk could be anywhere from 3 to 4 overall in catcher at the catcher spot. The questionable thing to me is after Adley, it's this little clump of like, is it going to be Remuto? Is it going to be Sal? Is it going to be Wilson Contreras or Dalton Varsho? Like that type of grouping of guys somewhere in there. That's not a bad spot. And then all of a sudden, if you don't get those guys, then you can take the Melendez's, the Ruiz's. You can just kind of take some of those shots in the dark on. And I mean, Cal Raleigh can't hit for average, but he leads catchers and homers this year. So this is why I don't spend too heavy. It's a pretty good group.
I mean, Real Muto, I've got him. I mean, if you play in any type of a categories league, like he has really just been a huge boost with the stolen bases. I mean, his season kind of got off to a rough start, but I mean, now he's really cooking. And then of course, Will Smith is also always
Well, yeah,
a
Will
good
Smith should
catcher
be
as
in
well.
that group too. That fun debate would be Adley or Remuto for next year on what side people are going to go with. So maybe that's something we'll bring up later. Over
Adley gets to make his audition for the
yeah,
next
yeah,
month.
yeah. Well, I mean, and he's been doing it. I think
Yeah.
he's one of the God. If I remember, he might be the high. I could be completely wrong about this. I want to say it was like the highest WAR of all catchers already in his short. I mean, now I have to look. So this is ruining my. So let's take a look here. Let's take off qualified. And let's see, WAR for catchers, just because I said it and we can't not do it. No, but he is okay, so this is a wild one. He is the fifth highest in WAR for catchers. He's within 1 full point of the top guy, which is Remuto, but he's done it in only 73 games. The next lowest is Jose Trevino in 88. The other three, Will Smith, Sean Murphy, and Remuto, all over 100 games. Adley has a 3.5 WAR in 73 games. That's a wild number, folks. That's a wild number for a rookie and a catcher, let alone.
I'll still take Real Muto and redraft next year.
Yeah, I think he would probably take it, but if there's a discount, if there's a big gap, that would change my mind. I will never ever, you'll never see me pay up for catchers. So if unless you're in a 2 catcher league, of course, but if you're in like a single catcher league and you're paying 5th round, that'll never be me. I'll just take the back end of what's still out there. And if there's a big gap between Adley and him, that's where I would pick. Some big performances from this weekend. Justin Steele has been just such a good second half, just maybe most of the season guy. 6, struck out 9, gave up only 2 hits. Arahara, 6 with 3 strikeouts. Sean Manaea went 7, striking out 4, giving up 5 hits, no walks. Nestor Cortez struck out 5 and 6, and Alek Manoah 6, striking out 8, hitting 1 judge and starting 1 fight with Garrett Cole, telling him to. Do you see? He's like, cross that. What a weird like come get me bro line where he's like, if he wants to come and walk past the Audi sign, you're like, what? Did you see that?
I didn't. No.
Like he hit Aaron Judge and they were kind of cool. Garrett Cole just kind of jumped up and freaked out. And then in a post-conference thing, Alek Manoah was like, well, if he wants to do something, he can cross that Audi sign. And what he was talking about was like the painted Audi logo on the field. And it was just like,
do you think Audi is happy about this reference or not?
That had to be worth at least like $500,000.
It's their new ad campaign.
Totally.
Cross the Audi sign right now. Get a special deal.
If baseball was like hockey and they had like a a fight and then a 2 minutes in the booth, it could be sponsored by Audi and everyone would love it 100%. Some stat zeros. Kyle Stowers, who got called up, 0 for 4, 4 strikeouts. Some offers with 3 strikeouts. Aristides Aquino, Jeremy Pena, Eugenio Suarez, Brett Beatty, 0 for 5, and Michael Harris, 0 for 4. We got to watch the Michael Harris stuff. This is a huge key to the next year value on Michael Harris is how he adjusts now that the league is adjusting to him. You're going to see a lot more breaking pitches, which he hits at a much lower rate. And let's see where the struggle or where the return comes from. I think that will tell you how elite we walk into next season with him. On the pitcher side struggles, Sandy Alcantara, a rare struggle. 6 earned runs, 10 hits, 5 Ks. Jose Quintana only went 2 2/3, gave up 2 earned runs, but 7 hits. Mike Minor gave up 5. Kyle Gibson didn't go 5. And Shohei Ohtani, as I mentioned, gave up 3 earned runs in 4, but one of his 85 pitches in 4 innings, just one of the lower outputs across the board. The Sandy one, do you think, I think you and I have talked about this just real quick. We've talked about the Cy Young stuff. And I want to say that you were in on some of the others besides Sandy. This is one of those things that I think lowers the market a little bit for Sandy and closes the gap. I think it was Burns that was number 2. I know there's some people that have hit me up about like Edwin Diaz maybe being in that mix.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying Scherzer as a long shot, but I mean, that's the thing with Alcantara. It's just the margin for error. The fact that he's not on a winning team and isn't piling up a huge win total, isn't a huge strikeout guy. There's just certain things that make it. He doesn't have that huge margin for error. So a couple more starts like this, I agree. I think that would really open the door. But I never saw him as like a runaway for it anyway.
Yeah. Let's go and check out the home run leaderboard, which we don't have a graphic. I need to get on them to get us a new graphic because we have a brand new leader on the board. Hi Cubby is back in the lead. Hi Cubby 2016 with 46 homers. Doesn't look like anybody hit a Sunday homer in the top of the leaderboard. D Blum is at 45. Go Cards 43. That is your top 3 with Terry and Mike Mayer coming up on the 40. Still only 6 people on the 40 home run marker, so we will be on the lookout for that. Friends, try to find it. Where did it go? when you're making your bets, there is only one for kings and queens. Yes, here it is, the official crown for BetMGM. Yes, Andrew, Joe used to have a nice crown. I have a tiara because I have my daughter here, and this was ordered. The mystery was solved, by the way, and I might let everybody know who it was on Wednesday. Wonky Wednesday, I'm going to release who the mystery of the scent tiaras was. But go and check out BetMGM today. Use the app, go online, use the promo code leading off, and get a risk-free $1,000 bet. Do it today. I've got 4 bets for you. The ones are the top algorithm strikeouts. Let's take this off. Strikeouts and total bases, and then the plus money strikeouts and total bases. So the number one total base prop for the day is not crazy juiced up over on Sugar House. It's Mookie Betts at 1.5 total bases. It's minus 113. It's actually not bad versus Milwaukee. The number one on the plus money total bases is Wilson Contreras. You're getting plus 125 with 1.5 total bases against St. Louis. So both of those there, actually not badly juiced. The number one strikeout prop of the day is Julio Urias, who's projected at almost 6, and it's an underplay because the number is at 7.5 versus Milwaukee. It is minus 160, and you're plus this. I took an even money play. Jeffrey Springs, even money on 5.5 strikeouts. FantasyPros is projecting, or Betting Pros is projecting 6.5 versus the Angels. So, Andrew, any of those bets, Urias, Springs, strikeouts, Contreras, Betts, total bases, which one do you like if you're taking one or multiple?
I mean, that Mookie Betts one looks pretty good to me. I mean, that's
-113.
a real low number, and it's almost even money. So, yeah, I mean, I think he should. You never know in any one day, but he should crush that.
Yeah, I don't play unders though. I don't, but I kind of like that Julio Urias under 7.5 to, Milwaukee would be a place you could get 8 strikeouts, but I don't particularly like the strikeout pop from Urias. But the Mookie Betts one I am on as well. Just quickly on the DFS, some pricing over on FanDuel. You can get Kopech at 8.7, which I kind of dig this week. Jeffrey Springs is 8, Sonny Gray 9.5, and Scherzer 11.5. If you're looking for some lineup builders, you've got 4 teams with 5 or more projected earned runs. You've got you got Philly, Atlanta, Minnesota, and the Dodgers. If you want to pick and choose from those, maybe top of the lineup players, if you're putting those all together. And lastly, home run call. Andrew, I throw it to you. We're going to start the week off hot. Who do you got?
Well, I'm not surprised Go Cards is doing well in the home run count because the Cards are on fire, and I'm not going to stray from that. I'm going to go with Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, he's got a couple home runs just in the last few days. He's hitting for the season 435 with 9 homers in 92 at bats against left-handed pitching. He's facing Drew Smyly. Feel good story that Drew Smyly's been doing decently lately, but I think it's going to come crashing down for him against that on fire and fuego Cardinals team. So I look for Goldie to go yard.
We have got Mayer picking Reese Hoskins, who I almost picked. Wonky has got Jake Fraley, and I'm going to do something I haven't done in a long time. I'm going to go with a Buxton Monday. Yes, we're going to go Byron Buxton for the day. Hasn't been doing much of anything. Does hit 245 against lefties, though. We've got Cole Reagans in the house, so I am going to be jumping on with Byron Buxton. And I'm kind of excited if we can get a homer and we can rev start some Buxton action. Dr. Glenn, you got my line for the day. Glenn says, I went 7 2/3, gave up 1 earned, 7 strikeouts currently as my start for today in the host seat, and I'm carrying a 2.57 ERA on the season. Ooh, thank you very much, Dr. Glenn. I'm going to have a bad blow up here to jump up that ERA. And shout out, happy birthday to Go Cards. I saw in the chat it is his birthday, so let's all wish Go Cards a happy birthday. You can do that in the Discord if you would like, or do it right now. Andrew, anything going on that we need to know before we're talking again next?
I'm just churning out these waiver wire pieces for Fantasy Pros every Saturday morning. You can check those out. I got my rest of season rankings updated at rosrankings.com. So you can go there as well. And got a podcast going twice a week on Apple and Spotify, the rest of season rankings podcast with my co-host Bart Wheeler.
Very, very cool. Friends, you can find me on Twitter at IsItTheWelsh. You can join in my hatred of MLB's blackout rules, which I tweeted about this weekend. You can catch the Twitch show, which is a little bit later today, and go over to thisleague.com where we got all the cool stuff, and I'm actually working on my 2023 rankings, which I'm going to be posting in September. So that should be fun. For Andrew, I am Welsh. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Have a fantastic week. Get those wins in. It's championship time. This is when it's won. We're out of here. It's Fantasy Pros. Peace.